This is the Three Gun Show, episode 63, with Kurt Heavy Drop Gruber. Welcome to the Three Gun Show. I am your host, Dave Hartman. In this episode, Kurt Gruber and I discuss how to go from slinging rounds downrange to a more focused and structured practice, and the XTreme Bullets Texas 3-Gun Championship presented by Munitions. This episode is brought to you by MGM Targets. Setting industry standards in quality and innovation for over 20 years, MGM Targets has grown to be the most well-known brand of steel targets worldwide. The code DHMGM10 will save you 10% on your purchase. MGM Targets, leave nothing to chance. Now, MGM is doing a target giveaway for one lucky listener of the Three Gun Show as well, so be sure to listen after the interview for details. Links to everything Kurt and I discuss can be found in the show notes at threegunshow.com/episode 63. And now please join me in welcoming the show, Kurt Heavy Drop Gruber. Kurt, welcome to the Three Gun Show.
Hey, Dave. It's good to be here.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that you came on the show, man. It's exciting to speak with you after we met in SHOT Show, and looking forward to getting to know you a little bit better here.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, the craziness of SHOT Show. You run into people and you're moving 1,000 miles an hour, and the first few weeks after SHOT Show is always the fun one, where you get to kind of catch up with all the people you had drive-bys with there and didn't really get to actually talk to and get much time with. So
yeah, for sure. And then I actually spotted you on like an ITS tactical SHOT Show rundown. They had a picture of like just they were trying to show like just an aisle of like how many booths were down it, and
right.
Sure enough, you were standing right there. I was like, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's actually kind of a funny story, because you weren't the first person to bring that up to me. And so I, of course, had to go look. Everybody says, hey, man, check it out. You're on ITS Tactical. I'm like, oh, wow, check it. So I go look, and it's the day 4 SHOT Show rundown. Now, the funny thing about that is that I wasn't there on day 4. And the picture that they had was on day 1. On Tuesday. I know that because it was the only day I tucked in my shirt. After day 1, there was pretty much no energy left to even tuck in my shirt.
That was the business day, and then everything else was casual, right?
Exactly.
Well, sweet. Well, Kurt, I want to get into shooting your shooting pedigree. I know you shoot for Team Adams Arms, and you run a sweet match in Texas that I've heard from a lot of people is like a have to make. But first, I want to get to know you just a little bit. Why don't you tell us who you are off the range?
All right. Well, off the range, I juggle a number of hats, the dad being the most important one. I've got a lovely wife and 3 lovely daughters. You know, the good Lord chose to bless me with girls because I was bad when I was young. And then to make it extra wonderful or painful, depending on how you look at it, I look at it as wonderful. He put them 8 years apart. So my wife and I came to the realization not long after the little one was born that we were going to have a teenage girl in the house for the next 18 years.
Oh, my God.
And then we sat down and looked at where we live and said, okay, that's all right. There's at least 4 world-class vodka distilleries within 30 minutes of where we're sitting.
So I'm guessing you said the little one. So I'm guessing you have like an 8 and a 16-year-old as well.
Yeah. So I've almost 2.
Oh, okay.
Emma will be 2 in April, which is amazing how time flies. She's hasn't got nearly as much range time as I hoped she would. One of the cool things about this community is the cool things that I got when Emma was born. You know. Good friend in Dallas, just from the shooting community, made a really awesome sign that's hanging in her bedroom still. And then Mondo down at Animal Customs, him and his wife, made a Adams Arms Hayes Customs gun onesie in the Adams Arms team jersey layout for her when she was little,
Aw, that's kind of cool.
which fit her until she was about 18 months, and then but she's grown pretty fast, so she doesn't really fit her anymore. But and then I've got my middle daughter Hannah, she'll be 10 about 2 weeks after Emma turns 2, and then my oldest will be 18 in October.
Man, that's quite the spread right there.
Yeah.
So when's the fourth coming then? I guess another 6 years.
Uh, you know, um, I know what causes that, and I know how to fix it.
You
So there will not be a fourth.
figured it out, huh?
Yeah. So
Well, good times. Well, Kurt, I know you from like social media basically, and then just like the brief interaction that we had when we were setting up over at the X-Rail booth. Um, One of the things I wanted to ask you about is you've got like a pretty unique nickname,
yeah,
and it's Heavy Drop, right?
right. Yep.
Where did you get that nickname?
So that kind of goes back quite a ways. I used to be pretty. I used to play a lot of airsoft. I used to be pretty heavy in the male sim airsoft community,
Okay.
and I used to go to a lot of events, travel to a lot of airsoft events, and one of the kind of guest commanders that I used to quote unquote fight under is a retired U.S. Army Ranger black hat named Max Mullen, and Master Sergeant Mullen gave me the nickname Heavy Drop once because I was always running around with I would run a gas M249 saw, and I was kind of the heavy gunner. And if you're familiar with aerial operations, a heavy drop is when you drop a tank or piece of artillery onto a battlefield out of the back of a plane. So heavy drop became my name because when he needed a heavy gunner, he'd call in the heavy drop.
I like it. And how long did you shoot airsoft?
I spent about three or 4 years pretty heavy in that, and then that's when I met some guys that I started shooting USPSA with. So this was probably back in the late 90s, 97, 98, around there, till around 2001.
What made you go to that first match?
It was interesting. I bought a new pistol. I think it was a Kimber 45 single stack, and there was how a lot of the gun manufacturers will stuff some some cards in with the gun when you buy it. And one of the things I pulled out was it said USPSA, and I'd never heard of such a thing, but man, it looked cool, and did a little research, and the internet was had a lot less information on it than it does now, but still was able to find some information, and that looked like fun. So found out there was a match locally from one of the guys I played airsoft with, and went out, and I was out there with my 3-inch barrel Kimber 45 with, I think I had 4 or 5, maybe 5 8-round magazines for it, and
Sweet.
I'll never forget that first match. It was the first time I ever saw a Texas Star, and you had to shoot it through a barrel. And I remember I got to that barrel with 3 magazines left, and when I stepped away from that barrel, there were 4 plates still on the Texas Star and 3 magazines in the barrel.
So that's quite the intro to the shooting sports there.
Yeah, but I was hooked.
Really? Okay, so it was.
I was absolutely hooked at that point.
Okay.
I'm a very competitive guy, so I was like, there's no way I can be this bad at something that I love doing this much.
Did you play like high school sports or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, I played football in high school.
Okay. Is that where the competitiveness came from?
Yeah, I played football. I was a power lifter. I had played football at a pretty high level. I was all district football player, so I was always pretty competitive. And then, when I came to college, me and my fraternity brothers would always get out and play tons of basketball and stuff. And it was all, it would get pretty rough. It would get pretty down and dirty. So, uh,
So then, what was
yes.
the next step then after that first match? Did you continue to compete with that Kimber, or did you?
So actually, I was stupid back then because, you didn't know. And I saw all these guys, one of the cool things about the club match they started shooting was that there were actually some pretty big names shooting it every month. Dave Dawson was one of the local shooters. But I didn't, get smart and jump straight into something good. I said, well, hey, it looks like I need more ammo capacity. Kimber sells a double stack 45. Let me go ahead and buy a Kimber double stack 45 and shot that for a while and actually went to a major match in Houston called Space City Challenge, which was a really fun match. It still goes on today. It was a really fun match. And really got punched in the gut at that match because I found out that it was possible for white box ammo not to make major in a 45.
No kidding.
Well, it was a 4-inch barrel.
Right.
It wasn't a 5-inch barrel. So,
Huh.
and then I also found that trying to shoot plate rack at 30 yards with a 4-inch barrel 45 kind of sucks. And I literally came home from that match in Houston, and one of my friends was selling an old Benny Hill open gun, and I bought that from him. And then I went to Dave Dawson's shop and put an order in for a brand new custom Dawson Precision open gun because I was never going to get embarrassed like that again.
Did it?
And
Did it
jumped
work?
straight into the deep end, into shooting open at that
Yeah,
point.
straight in open. So how long did you shoot open then?
I shot open, so that was probably 2002. I shot a lot of USPSA till about 2010.
Oh, okay. And
So,
so you must have liked it, and you stuck with open that whole time.
pretty much. I mean, over time, then I also bought a limited gun and would switch over to limited sometimes. You know, I, it was cool. Used to RO a lot of matches because I spent a lot of money on guns and ammo and didn't have a lot of money for match fees. And travel costs. So I would RO matches so that they would cover my hotel, and I'd get to shoot the match for free. And got to meet a lot of cool people doing that. Guys like Travis Tomasi and Max Michelle, and talking to a lot of those guys, I found that going back and forth between the dot gun and a gun with iron sights. Every time I shot iron sights for a while, I'd go back to the dot gun. I'd be faster with the dot. So.
Huh? And so why is that?
It's you have to aim a lot more with iron sights.
Right.
You have to actually. There's a lot more work in shooting a limited gun and shooting an iron sight gun than shooting a dot gun. You have to actually with a limited gun, you actually have to line up your sights and see a good sight picture. Whereas a dot, you put the dot so where you see the dot on the target, you pull the trigger and repeat. Um, so you can shoot a lot faster with a dot, especially a good really good USPSA open gun, because it was a 38 Super with loads that were very well tuned for that gun, and that thing was just flat shooting. I could just rip through targets with it. With a major power factor 40 caliber limited gun, that thing has a little bit more pop to it. So it took a lot more to just get on target and stay on target.
Right. So there's more. I guess kind of sounds like more patience involved, like waiting for the sights and waiting for
Absolutely.
it to get
Waiting
on
for the
target.
sights to settle. Absolutely.
Gotcha. So then, when did it turn into three gun for you?
Well, so all during that time, three gun was kind of a side show. Kind of like we do today in three gun, where when we have a month with an extra weekend, we'll have like a shotgun match. Well, back then at our USPSA club, on months where there was an extra weekend we'd have a 3-gun match. And it was more old school 3-gun. There was no multi-gun back then, or that we knew of. It was going on, but we knew more about the old like Soldier of Fortune style 3-gun, where you have you go to show up at the match and there's 6 stages. There's 2 pistol stages, 2 rifle stages, and 2 shotgun stages, and you kind of pull whatever you happen to have in the safe out, and you go out and play for the weekend, play for a day.
Yeah, that's kind of the way the match is at like my local range, my closest range to me. It's a lot of guys will bring out, like Steyr Augs and
right,
things that you normally wouldn't see.
I was back then. I was shooting a Bushmaster with one of those like 50 millimeter red dots mounted on the carry handle, and
sweet.
Started shooting with a Winchester 1300 model 1300 Defender pump, and found out real fast that even back then in the 3-gun we shot back then, not having chokes was a bad idea. Having just a cylinder choke was a bad idea, because you get to a Texas Star at 15, 18, 20 yards, you get a cylinder choke, you weren't doing anything. So I actually bought my first 3-gun match. I bought a gun in between stages, a shotgun in between stages.
No kidding.
Yeah, I shot the first stage with my pump, and this guy, one of the guys there, was selling a Virgil Trip custom Remington 1187. I was like, yep. After I shot my first stage, I was like, yep, that's not going to work. So I went over and talked to Paul and bought 1187 and shot the second stage with a new 1187.
Was it a little better?
Oh, yeah, it was a lot better. I didn't have a clue how to load it. Didn't have a clue, really what I was doing running it. I'd never shot a semi-auto shotgun before that, but it had choke tubes. I could put a tighter. I grew up hunting, so I understood what you needed to. I grew up hunting and shooting skeet, so I understood what you needed to do with choke tubes. I just, so it was definitely a whole different game from one stage to the next.
Oh, I bet. Well, and that seems like a massive advantage too, because most people don't learn about chokes until they've been playing the game for a while.
Right. Yeah, I grew up in North Dakota. I grew up, in a pretty strong sportsman family. Hunting pheasant, doing some duck hunting. Although my dad and I both hate to eat ducks and hate to kill something we don't eat, so we didn't do much duck hunting unless we went with somebody who we knew was that they would take the ducks and eat them. It was mostly pheasant hunting, pheasant, partridge, upland game, pheasant, partridge, grouse, some turkey. But yeah, so I had the one gun probably that I had the most experience with at this point was a shotgun, just from hunting.
Gotcha. But never in like a, shooting plates and flying clays type of environment?
No.
So did you pick it up pretty easy, or was it like a hard transition?
Once I figured out just to, throw a rear sight on it and shoot it like the pistol, it became a lot easier. Shotgun is probably my best gun now.
And so when about...
Which is funny, because that's the only... lots of people talk about guys that are sponsored shooters. It's funny, because a shotgun sponsor is the only sponsor I don't have, and it's probably my best gun. So.
Awesome. Well, this space for rent, I guess, then?
Actually, I've got a local gun store here that's taking care of my shotgun needs.
Oh, cool. So Kurt, then when did it turn from just like a side stage to like a regular thing for you? And did that have to do with like your local club changing, or was it just something you sought out yourself?
So 2010, I would say 2010 was an interesting year for me. So 2000, we kind of saw it coming in 2009, shot some stuff, but we still didn't have the right gear. To begin 2010, I spent the first 2 months in 2010 on the Horn of Africa in Djibouti at Camp Lemonnier, working out there. And while I was there, I had lots of free time, and they were paying me pretty well. And so while I was there, I ordered a new rifle, and I ordered a new STI 9mm, because the writing out was on the wall just from the little bit I'd shot so far of 3-gun that 9mm was the way to go. And then I came back and shot the 2010 LaRue Tactical 3-gun match out in it was in where was it? It was out by College Station. I can't remember the name of the Cawthon, Texas. Cawthon Cartridge Club.
Oh, okay.
And man, it was pretty rough match. You know, there was a lot of things in it, but at that point I pretty much knew I would probably never travel for another 1-gun match again.
You just enjoyed it that much?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, my mantra of why shoot 1 gun when you can shoot 3 took hold really fast.
It's a good mantra. A lot of people I talk to live by that.
You know, so then of course, so that match got over. I got over on Sunday. Got home Monday. I had a new gun safe delivered. Tuesday, I got on a plane and had to Iraq for 2 years. So that kind of put my shooting on hold a little bit, but I was hooked. So my first R&R from Iraq, I was there over there as a contractor, IT contractor. Was after 6 months, after I'd been in country 6 months, happened to line up with right around Thanksgiving. Well, most of the people, they'd come home for Christmas, but no, I came home for Thanksgiving, and my family was like, "Why are you here for Thanksgiving instead of Christmas?" I said, "Well, Fort Benning 3-guns next week, and I'm going." So I actually came home back to the U.S. from Iraq 3 times and scheduled all 3 of those trips around 3-gun matches. So
hey, honey, good to see you going shooting.
You know, luckily at that point, so my middle daughter and my oldest daughter are my stepdaughters. I was single at that point still.
Oh, gotcha.
My wife, I met my wife after I got back from Iraq in 2012. So, you know, it was just me, and then I had my parents and my sister and my dog. But other than that, you know, I didn't have anybody else to answer to, so but myself.
That makes it a little easier.
You know, I think. One of those R&Rs, I wasn't actually officially in the U.S. because I wasn't really supposed to be here. I flew from Iraq to Kuwait and then up to Germany and spent a few days hanging out with some friends that were stationed at Ramstein, and then jumped on a plane, flew home, shot. That was for the LaRue Tactical 3-gun in 2011. Got home on Wednesday, shot Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Got on a plane on Monday and flew back and spent 5 days in Rome. And as far as anybody was concerned, I was in Germany and I was in Italy. I paid for luckily I had lots of frequent flyer miles, so I covered my flights from Germany back to the U.S. and the U.S. back to Italy on my own. And so...
You do know that this is like an internet broadcast show, right?
It's all right. It was just me and my employer that.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. So bygones, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, so Kurt, it sounds like you got like addicted to 3-gun pretty quick. And,
absolutely.
Those don't sound like the actions of a man who's like casually interested in the sport.
No. And then when I got home in 2012, I got lucky that, you know, I was working for a pretty great employer and who recognized the fact that we'd spent the last, 2 years working 72 hours a day, or 72 hours a week, every week for basically the entire time we were over there. So I had some on the bench time when I got home, and I used pretty much all of that on the bench time for shooting. I hit, I think it was 11 major matches that year. Traveled all over, shot as much as I could. I'd spend 3 days at the range during the week, and then jump in the car and head to a major match. So that was the.
Were you? Did you keep to your only shooting 3-gun for major matches then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, in that time, then, you're shooting all these matches, 11 major matches a year. Did you do like any sort of practice to get your competency up, or was it?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was training 3 days a week while I was, you know, when I wasn't traveling for a match. I was shooting at the range. I
Cool.
was
Well,
burning through ammo.
very nice. What did that training look like?
Back then that training was a lot of training harder, not necessarily training smarter.
Okay,
Um,
so it was
so
just like I'm going
so
to
I
toss
would I
more
would
rounds
take
down range.
1,000 rounds to the range and shoot 300 rounds of pistol, 500 rounds of rifle, and a couple hundred rounds of shotgun, and shoot all of it in not necessarily the most efficient drills, but I was just getting a lot of rounds downrange, getting used to my gear, um, getting used to loading the shotgun. Back then we were weekend loading, so uh, learning to load your shotgun took a lot more work than it
Yeah.
does now. So,
So
but it
so
was
then it was just banging rounds down range.
it was banging tons of rounds downrange. Yep.
So when did you make the transition or the realization to like I need a plan for my practice or my training?
Once I had to go back to work and actually had to go back to having a real job and had my range time cut distinctly. Um, and then once I got married and suddenly had at first two and then three, or first three, first two because my wife was working also, but had all kinds of mouths to feed other than my own. So I couldn't, you know, before that it was feed me and feed my guns. Um, so suddenly the training ammo budget got cut distinctly.
So then did you like sit down and make a plan, or did you seek out help from that, or what did you do?
A combination thereof. I sat down and made a plan. Then I reached out to a couple good friends who were instructors, who were trainers, and kind of worked with them on setting up, coming up with what a good training regimen is. I'd be lying to you if I said I thought I have a really great training regimen still today. Um, it's definitely still a work in progress. But it came down to, these are the 10 rifle drills that I think I get the most out of. These are the 10 pistol drills that I think I get the most out of. And this is the shotgun. This is what I do with my shotgun that I think get the most out of. The good thing about shotgun is I think you get the best shotgun practice. You never have to pull the trigger.
Right, it's all in loading, right?
It's all unloading, and I can do that, spend 10, 15 minutes a day in the house on a break, or I've been known to be on a conference call that I didn't actually have to talk on, so I'll be on mute standing here loading my shotgun.
Awesome.
So that was the nicest thing. The nice thing is even once I went back to work, I still worked from home. So for the most part.
That's good. Then you can take those dry fire breaks. That works out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Kurt, what are like some drills that you came up with, of those 10 most important that you still use now?
So a lot of what I do now, actually a lot of what I do now was when last year, MGM Targets ran a deal on auto poppers, and I bought some auto poppers and realized those auto poppers are probably the absolute best training tool there is.
Really, was that?
Because they're little.
Oh, okay.
You gotta aim. There's no room for hosing. There's no room for error. There is get on the gun, get good aim and break a good shot, or else you're gonna miss. So I spend a lot of time now. I'll go to the range and I'll set up a plate rack at the end of the range and an auto popper in each corner of the range, and then set up a barricade at each side of the beginning of the range, and my rifle practice will be running back and forth between the barricade, practicing either getting on target offhand or getting onto the barricade and on target as fast as possible, and breaking a good clean shot on those little bitty auto poppers.
That sounds good. Now, what distance would those auto poppers be at?
65, 70, up to 80 yards, depending on which bay I end up on at the range.
Okay, and we're talking like those small, skinny guys, right?
Yep.
God, those ones are a pain.
Oh, they are. They are, but they're like I said, when it comes to training tools, there aren't many things better than them.
Yeah, I could see how that works. So that's your favorite drill for the rifle, then?
Yeah, and then I still will set up targets along the outside of the bays and just see how fast I can get running and get rounds on each of those targets. Just for shooting on the move drills. And then the old Jerry Mitchell V drill for transition drills. That's one of a drill that I think is hard to be beat. I also spend a lot of time these days watching, at work, spend a lot of time watching like Keith Garcia's Facebook and seeing what new drills he comes up with, and because he gets to spend a lot more time at it, and he's got a lot more experience coming up with drills, and he puts together some pretty darn good ones.
Yeah, it seems like if you just kind of, hang out and watch what he's doing and then go and repeat that on Saturday at the range or whenever you get to the range, it's pretty good training.
Absolutely. A couple, especially some of his weapons manipulation drills. It almost feels like these days that's something I feel like shotgun loading, weapons manipulation is something that a lot of the newer folks to the sport don't get enough work at. So I make sure that when they come to my match, they have to do all of those things really well.
So that's a good transition, Kurt. Now you run a regular monthly match, right?
We do.
And then you also run a bigger match that we're going to talk about in a minute here. But
yep. So it's myself, Aaron Hayes from Hayes Custom Guns, and then another partner of ours named Brian White. We put on those matches, pretty much the three of us. Of course, with a lot of help from the community, because there's no way three guys can set up and tear down a match.
Sure. And what range is that?
At Copperhead Creek.
Okay.
Marble Falls, Texas.
I keep hearing great things about that range.
It's a pretty amazing facility. We're pretty lucky that we have such a great facility to host our matches at. We have a good combination of 4 really nice tack bays and then some really good open terrain stuff. And then there's some, we were continually working with them for improvements on the range. Like one of the things we did last year for the major match that we held, it was built a new 12 foot off the ground, 10 foot by 20 foot deck shooting platform.
I saw
on the long range.
I saw some video of that in action. How far can you get out at off that platform?
So we can get out to over 600 yards, but of course we don't do that in 3-gun because people will complain. Not only will people complain, but honestly, it's 223 at that distance. It's hard to reliably call hits.
Right.
But I love getting up there with my 6.5 Creedmoor and my bolt guns and running out 600, 650 yards. The targets go out as far as 600 yards now, but there are a couple places where you can set targets a little bit further out there. But it's nice. Because they keep it set up. So, when I go out there to practice, if it's a long range practice day, I don't have to set any targets. Everything's already out there.
That is nice. It saves so much time.
Yeah, especially because it's an hour drive each way from the house for me.
Oh yeah.
So a normal, and it's great. It's a great range to be affiliated with too, because I leave a lot of my steel there. Like I have a couple plate racks there and some other things. And when I'm headed out to train, I'll give them a call and say, "Hey, I'm coming out. Can you put my plate rack in a bay?" And I say, "Yeah, sure. When you get here, hit bay 6. Your plate rack will be there."
Look,
so
Its service doesn't get any better than that. That's awesome.
Right.
Because plate racks are damn heavy.
Yes, and they've got a tractor to move it with. So
Yeah. Hey, how cool is that? So then, Kurt, let's talk about those monthly matches. What do those matches look like when you guys get out there?
you know, we kind of pride ourselves in putting on a little bit maybe more difficult than most monthly match. Um, it's not your beginner can shoot it, but your beginner gonna have to the beginner's gonna have to understand that it's one of the things we pride ourselves in. Especially, Aaron and I travel a lot to shoot. Um, is trying to help folks from Central Texas be prepared to travel out into major matches and be competitive. Um, so a lot of times if we go to a match and we see a target array that we think is particularly challenging and fun, you might see that in one of our monthly matches. You also might see us testing stuff for our major match. Because you have a lot of great ideas, but you don't know if it's going to work until you see somebody shoot it. You also don't know what stipulations you need to write into the stage description until you see somebody game it.
Right.
So
that's the good thing about being able to run that monthly match then.
right, absolutely. The other nice thing is, from a selfish perspective, if you run a monthly club match and you have something that you need extra work on, everybody gets extra work on it.
Oh, for sure.
So
do you guys shoot those year round?
pretty much. Summer gets pretty warm. It's in the summer. It's the diehards. Um, in August, it'll be 105, 106 degrees out there on the range. Um, but you got guys that are getting ready to go to Rocky Mountain or to go to Pro-Am, or getting ready for basically what I call the second half of the major match season. So a lot of the diehards will be out there every month. Um, there's some months we don't get to have our match. Like in May this year, our normal match weekend is actually the Three Gun Nation Southwest Regional at the range that weekend. So we don't get to have our club match, but of course we're all going to shoot the Three Gun Nation Regional there that weekend. So.
Yeah, for sure. So it's cool that you get to have two major matches at your home range, basically.
Yeah, so it's amazing how Three Gun in Texas is growing. This year I'll shoot 5 majors without leaving Texas.
No kidding.
4 major 3-gun. Well, I guess I won't shoot 4. I'll run 1, shoot 3 major 3-gun matches, and 1 major shotgun match, and then 1 match that is major-ish. It has a prize table and stuff, but it's a really fun night match zombie night match that we do every fall. Because there's just something cool about shooting with lights and lasers.
That's exactly right. Yeah, shooting with lights and lasers is kind of fun and kind of difficult if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
So, Kurt, the match that you run is the XTreme Bullets Texas 3-Gun Championship.
Yep.
I guess the rest of that is presented by Munitions.
Yes.
So that match is coming up really quick here in the first weekend in April. What do you guys have planned for that?
So we've got some pretty cool stuff planned. We put on a pretty solid match last year. I pride myself in running a match in designing a match that I'm really bummed I don't get to shoot for score. And I'm a shooter, so it's a lot of high round count stages. I think we're going to have 1 rifle stage this year that's 67 rounds.
Nice. You actually make people change magazines.
Oh, yeah. We have a 40-something round. We always have a 40-something round shotgun stage. This year there's going to be a fair number of flying clays in the match. One of our match sponsors is Promatic. So
I'm not familiar with Promatic. What do they do?
Promatic, they do clay throwers, like a lot of sporting clay ranges are built around Pro-Matic throwers.
Okay, like the big turret type things.
Yeah, so the ones we're gonna have are they're pretty cool. They're actually on wheels, so we can push them around, but they're an automated thrower with on a computer programmer. So basically, like one of the things we have lined up is that the shooter's gonna yell pull just like they would at any skeet range or sporting clay range. The RO is gonna hit the button and it's gonna kick off. We're gonna have two throwers there, and it's gonna kick off a 15-second 10-bird flurry. So basically, you're gonna get a bird every second and a half for 15 seconds.
Sweet.
So
that sounds like fun. Now, is that part of like a larger stage?
Yeah, it's part of about a 42 round shotgun stage.
Oh, okay. So that'll be all shotgun.
Yes.
So how do you then start the timer? Is there like more shooting before that or more shooting after that?
Yeah, that's actually near the end of the stage.
Oh, okay. Got it. Well, sweet. That sounds like fun. Well, and so I had Aaron Hayes on the podcast, and he was saying that one of the things that he wanted to do was shoot more shotgun this year. And it sounds like Texas is getting a lot of shotgun from what I'm hearing, because you guys have like or throwing another shotgun match on your monthly match schedule.
Yep, we had our first one in January. April we will probably miss out because I don't think any of us are going to have any energy to run any more matches in April after the big match. And then we have a couple more fifth Saturdays throughout the year that we'll have shotgun match. But we also have coming up here in a couple weeks up in Crescent, Texas, the North Texas multi-gun guys are having the Mossberg Shotgun Championship. So a 2-day long all shotgun match. So
that's cool. Are you going to that one?
Absolutely. So, and I have to correct myself there. I'm going to get to shoot 6 major matches in Texas without leaving this year. I forgot the Starlight 3 gun is going to be at Copperhead Creek this year too.
Oh, no kidding.
So,
well, sweet, man. It sounds like a lot of 3 guns going on in Texas.
Absolutely. We have a great shooting community here.
Yeah, for sure.
We have a really strong shooting community. So
plus a really big state.
Yeah. We have, I mean, so if you look at it, we have, if you look at kind of club matches around here, we'll get between 40 and 50 people at our club match. The guys down at Dissident Arms in Houston, they sell out their club match every month with about 60 shooters because they're pretty much the only thing going around in the Houston area. There's 2 or 3 from Austin. I can shoot 3 gun every weekend if I'm willing to drive to Houston and Dallas, which is about 3 hours each way.
Huh.
So.
Dang, that's a lot of shooting.
Yeah.
So Kurt, when you look at that match schedule that you have sit in front of you, and you have the weekend matches as well, just like your local club matches.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that you use those as your practice for the major matches. So when you're looking at this schedule, how are you going to set up those matches then for the practice for the major matches?
So I've always kind of looked at a club match, even when I was shooting USPSA, I've always looked at a club match as an organized practice session. So, one of the things we did last year in August, because August is, it's so bloody hot in Texas, is we set up had kind of a skills challenge, because we knew we had a bunch of guys that were headed to Rocky Mountain. So we threw in a ton of long range, a ton of offhand rifle stuff, so that they could make sure that they got the practice they needed to head to that match. And then we also threw in some short range base stuff because I'm, once again, I have to do stuff that I would need practice for too. And I was headed to Pro-Am instead of Rocky Mountain, and Pro-Am, is a very short range, bay type of hoser match. But really, we just kind of look at what's coming up on the schedule. Aaron and I are lucky that we, like I said, we shoot quite a bit, so we can go back to our videos from our matches and say, hey, this is something they did at FN last year. This looks fun. Let's set this up. Um, but it's really, we at our shotgun match in January, we set up some of the stages that Aaron had from the match book from the IPSC World Shotgun match in Italy last year.
Oh, cool.
So
how were those stages?
they were fun. We did 7 stages that day, 7 shotgun stages that day. We did 4 short courses, the 8 to 10 round IPSC type short courses, and
Right.
then 3 long courses. The shortest, the smallest of which had 39 rounds.
So those
So
those short courses aren't something that we generally see in, like, I don't know, I guess you call American practical shotgunning or anything.
no,
So how was it setting that up? What did you think of the stages, and then what was the reaction from the crowd?
I think everybody enjoyed it. It's fun. It's something, it's something you get to, shooting's fun. And one of the things we did that was one of the things we did to get more shooting in the match, but also to kind of change it up so that people could get some exposure to the different kinds of shooting. So, we set up lots of no shoots, we did 2 empty gun starts on those short courses. Set up where you didn't have, set up one where you didn't have a lot of room to work with. You had your shooting box, and there were barrels right in front of you, and guys with their long magazine tubes, you had to really work. You really had to pay attention to make sure that you were manipulating your gun around the barrels. It's just good. It's a lot of fun. It's a great match, but it's also just good practice for when it counts.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like a good time. I really enjoy all shotgun matches myself, and it looks like there's a lot of interest in the crowd as well.
Yep. Yeah, we have quite a bit of interest in all shotgun matches around here. So
Yeah. So Kurt, then you mentioned that you're shooting for Adams Arms, and I thought we'd wrap up by talking about your gear real quick here.
okay.
Now, you didn't stay in open then, did you? Transitioned over to like tech ops type setup?
I shoot a lot of different. I shoot a lot of different divisions. The only division I pretty much don't shoot is limited, because
Oh, okay.
I just love scoped rifles. I shooting for U.S. Optics. I'm lucky that I get to have some of the best scopes you can buy on my rifles. But I also I like a magnified optic. I don't really enjoy shooting a red dot. So, but no, I shoot some open 3-gun. I shoot mostly tac ops these days because, unfortunately, I think one of the things that 3-Gun Nation has done to the sport is, I don't think it's just 3-Gun Nation. It was happening a lot before that, but it's pushed everybody to tac ops. Especially, if you're trying to pay for your trip off the prize table at a lot of matches, the only option you have then is to shoot tac ops.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I enjoy shooting open or heavy probably more than I enjoy shooting tac ops.
Okay. So what do you shoot more often then?
I shoot tac ops more often.
Oh, okay. Just because of the prize table thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Heavy seems like a really fun, albeit expensive, division. But
It's a ton of fun.
it's unfortunate that it doesn't get like the play it deserves because I don't know. What do you think that is, Kurt? Do you think it's because it's more expensive to shoot, like rifle
Yeah,
and
I
stuff?
think it's more expensive to shoot. I mean, shooting a 308 rifle, and of course I prefer shooting what some of the purists would call watered down heavy. I like shooting heavy with a 308 rifle, a 9mm pistol, and a semi-auto shotgun. But I love shoot because I love shooting my 308 rifle.
Right.
Adams Arms came out with a new 308 rifle last year, and it's just so much fun to shoot. That the combination of that Adams Arms 308 and the U.S. Optics scope on top of it, what more could a guy ask for?
Yeah, probably makes for a pretty sweet setup there.
Yeah,
So then basically it's just the cost then is what's keeping that division from growing.
I think so. But I also think, once again, I think it's just the same thing as keeping all the other divisions from growing. None of the divisions are really growing but TAC Ops. Um, and that's just because that's where the prizes are.
Yeah, and that's where like the largest amount of people are too.
Right.
So like when we were at Shot, Kalani Laker called it swimming with the sharks, you know.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
so if you want
But it's amazing because so you look at that. But if you when you go out to Superstition Mountain, you'll see at Superstition. If you go to Superstition Mountain, you'll see that there are a ton of top guys who say, "Screw it, I'm gonna have fun and shoot open there." You look at guys like Travis Gibson shoot open more often than not these days. Just and I've started shooting more divisional stuff. Part of the reason I shot TAC Ops so much last year is that my the pistol that Aaron built me last year was just too much fun not to shoot.
that makes sense.
So that's why I didn't shoot any open at all last year because I got a new 6-inch Hayes Custom gun from Aaron last year, 6-inch spiral fluted bull barrel 9mm, and that gun is just so much fun to shoot. So I ended up leaving my X-rail in the safe and not throwing a second optic on my rifle and just shooting TAC Ops all season.
Sweet. So is that going to change up this year?
I got a new gun coming. I got a new pistol coming. I got smart this year. The pistol that I've got coming from Aaron this year is going to be dual purpose. It's going to have two top ends. One of them is going to be a 6-inch, just regular iron-sighted sight tracker. But then the other one is going to be for shooting open. And it's going to be a 6-inch hybrid barrel. So one of the things I've found over the years is I don't think a comp really helps you in 3-gun. So I'm going to not have it to be no comp. It's just going to be some 3-barrel ports on the island on the hybrid barrel, and then a slide ride optic for shooting open 3-gun.
Gotcha.
Because I just love the way a 6. There's just something about how a 6-inch shoots that I just really love. I don't know. It's just something about it. Because with an iron sights gun, it's easy to say why you love a 6-inch gun, because that extra inch of sight radius on little steel at long ways out makes a world of difference.
Oh, for sure.
But it also just I don't know. It also just feels better for me. We load the ammo we load for it is so light that we load it as light as we can get, as light as we can go, and still reliably run the gun.
Right.
So,
yeah. No power factor in 3-gun, so you can go pretty light on it. Yeah.
Yep.
That extra sight radius certainly does matter. Like, I mean, it's kind of apples and oranges, but when I swapped from shooting a Glock 17 that I shot for like 4 years to like a Glock 34.
Oh yeah, or a 17L.
Yeah. It's like, holy crap, this is cheating.
Yeah, I mean the sight radius changed regardless of what platform you're shooting. That sight radius change will make a huge difference. That's where it gets down to. It doesn't matter what you're shooting; the fundamentals will stay the same.
That's a good point. So then you're going to be shooting open more. You mentioned X-Rail. What's your X-Rail mounted on?
So I've got it's a Benelli M2.
Okay.
It's one of the integrated X-Rails. And then I actually run a three round extension on the main tube, so I get 10 rounds in the main tube and 3 6-round auxiliary tubes. So when I get to start fully loaded with one in the chamber and one ghost loaded, I start with 30 in the gun.
That's awesome. Just Because the X-Rail didn't hold enough already. You had a +3 on it. That's so funny.
But there's a reason for that. You know, a lot of shotgun matches, they'll do empty gun starts, and the standard main tube on the X-Rail only holds 7 rounds, so you can't put 2 full 4-round speed loaders in it.
Oh, I got you.
So, thus the extension.
Gotcha. So, integrated Benelli M2 X-Rail.
Yep.
And so when you do have to load, or when you do those, unloaded starts, it's probably very infrequent, but do you do like a quad load then?
No, I've been trying to play with doing quad loading with it, but you can't really, because the X-Rail has so much extra weight on the receiver. You can't really cut into the receiver at all. So I end up using speed loaders.
Oh, okay, like sticks type thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Well, sweet. So it sounds like we got the gear squared away. You've got a bunch of matches.
Yep. Now I will say, when I'm not shooting open, I shoot a Browning A5.
Oh, okay.
Instead of a Benelli, because I like being able to plan to run dry. I like to not be a big deal if I run dry. I don't have to worry about a match saver. I don't have to worry about port loading. If I run dry, I flip it over and start loading. It automatically chambers around for me, and I go.
And so for if someone's listening and they're new to the game, it's the what do they call it? The auto load feature on the Browning. Yep. Loads the first round that you put into it. Is that right?
Well, or the second round.
Round.
If you're loading twins or quad loading.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty slick. So you actually then plan to run dry, you just run everything out of the gun and then go for it?
I mean, it depends on the stage.
Okay.
It's just it's nice to have that as another tool in your toolbox. If it fits in the stage where, if I start my first shotgun shooting position has 9 rounds, I don't have to worry about topping off the gun. I don't have to worry about it. Just get up there, shoot my 9 rounds, run the gun dry, and as I move into the next shooting position, load it.
Nice.
And when I get to the next shooting position, there's a round in the chamber. It's ready to go.
Now, how long have you been running the A5 then?
So I ran it for I run the one I have now for about a season and a half. I've got about 10,000 rounds through it. We were a couple years ago. We went to the U.S. Carbine Association national match as a team, the Adams Arms guys, and TK had one. And we started playing with TKs, and he showed us the auto load feature, and I was like, dude, mind blown. And I had to come home and buy one, and been shooting it ever since.
Yeah, it seems like we're gonna. I mean, we have seen like pretty decent explosion of that over like the last year, and I'm betting that we're going to be seeing more and more because that auto load feature is ridiculous. Like you don't have a bunch of extra buttons and levers to press. And
don't have to worry about I don't have an oversized bolt release on my gun. Don't need it. Didn't have to do a lot of work to my gun. All I needed to do. I've got another one on the way. This one's got a lot of rounds through it, so I've got another one on the way, and all I'll do is open up the port, throw a Briley oversized charging handle in it, and it's ready to go.
That's awesome. Now, do you find that it points better, same, just different than the Benelli M2?
I think it points a little better for me just because I love. If you ever really looked at one closely and seen kind of how it's the humpback design.
Yeah.
I've got a fat face, so that humpback design is perfect for me. And then I guess the other thing that we had to do to it is replace the sights. The one I have now has a XS rear sight and an XS front sight. The new one will probably have a XS rear sight and a high-vis front sight.
Gotcha. And then throw a longer tube on there and you're good to go.
Yep. Exactly.
Sweet. Well, Kurt, when I see you on the range, I'm going to have to try it out, man.
Absolutely. You're welcome to. The other great thing about this sport and about this community is that if anybody, wants to try something out, or we have folks that'll show up. We had a one girl that showed up for our 3-gun match this month without a shotgun, and next thing you know, she was shooting one of the guys. One of the guys in her squad's been LEM too.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's so cool. I actually ran into an issue where I showed up to a match with no shotgun ammo.
yep.
And I got bailed out by a couple of guys like, "Oh, I've got some extra, stuff like that." So
Yep.
it's a great community to be a part of, and you don't want to do that all the time,
Oh
but
no.
when you make that mistake, yeah, someone
Yep.
will definitely help you out.
Yep.
Well, Kurt, this is this has been a lot of fun, man. Couple last questions for you before we let you go here. One, I'm going to bring this one back. A lot of people have been asking me for it, and you seem like a good sport when I met you, so you might like this one. Can you tell me about your most spectacular disqualification?
Absolutely. And it's going to go back to actually my pistol days. A lot of pistol matches, they have a lot of themed stuff. And then one of the reasons you'll never see me running a race holster in 3-gun is, so I was on a stage. I was at the I think it was 2009. I bet it was 2009 Double Tap Championship up in Wichita Falls, Texas, and I loaded and make ready. And the stage you had to run up there, was the theme of the match was the Flintstones, and you had to run up there with this saber-toothed tiger, open up the door, and throw the saber-toothed tiger through, and then start shooting.
Nice.
So, put my gun in my ghost holster, and hand me the gun, hand me the saber-toothed tiger. And I'm standing there. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And the buzzer goes off, and I go running. And as I'm approaching the door, I'm like, "Oh no, did I lock my holster?"
Oh,
Because with a
yeah.
ghost holster, you have to lock it, unless you're going to be drawing it right away.
So
Uh,
if we got guys that are just getting into this, they've never seen a ghost holster because we don't use many of those in 3-gun.
right.
Can you describe that?
So basically, a ghost holster, there's not much to it. The trigger guard of your gun sits in it, and that's the entire holster. It covers up the trigger guard of your gun, and it's got a little ball bearing mount in there that is all the retention it has. So when you lock it, that ball bearing is locked. It's not going anywhere. When it's not locked, that ball bearing is on a little spring, and it'll pop right out. Um, so as I approached the door and I reached out, as I slowed down, I felt my hip get lighter,
Oh no.
and I realized that nope, I guess I didn't lock my ghost holster.
Oh man.
And then to add insult to injury, it was the second day of the match. The first day it had snowed on us. Second day was beautiful, and I didn't get to go home because I was shooting a class the next day.
Oh man.
So I just had to hang out.
Oh man. So lessons that you can take away from that one: if you're ever using Super Race holster, make sure you lock it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the lesson is especially in 3-gun, is don't use one. I've seen
Right.
more people DQ'd because of a race holster in 3-gun. There's still a lot of guys in open that run them though. I guess as long as you're comfortable, as long as you practice with it, I I won't do it.
Well, right on. Well, Kurt, where do you see the sport of 3-gun headed?
You know, I imagine it's going to keep getting bigger. We're really blessed in this sport more than any other to have the industry support we have. But we're also going to have to understand, as the industry ebbs and flows, so will the support. Prize tables aren't always going to be. You're not always going to go to a match and see $150,000, $180,000 on the prize table.
Right.
But I think it'll keep growing. We'll see. We'll see if it gets back to where you're shooting more because you love to shoot than the guys that are shooting all the time because just for the prize table. Because there is a lot of that, and it's okay. I mean, people shoot as long as they're shooting. I don't care why they're shooting.
Yeah.
Um,
To each their own, right?
exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I shoot a lot of divisional stuff. I mean, I love to I love to be able to try to pay for my trip off the prize table. Um, so I do shoot a lot of tac ops, but you know what? Sometimes I just want to have fun, or sometimes I got to show off. I want to show off the new gun. That's why I shot a lot of heavy last year. The prize tables in heavy are pretty sad. Um, but you know, Adams Arms, we had a great new product, and I want to show it off. You know, um,
Yeah, and that's and more guys shooting those divisions means better prizes, you know. So
yeah,
it's kind of a chicken or the egg type situation.
exactly. That's why one of the things, and you know, this is, you know, I'm blessed. I'm lucky to have a great group of guys working with me on the major match. You know, Aaron and Brian are great partners in that, and then you know we have a bunch of people that help us out. But one of the things that I really drive in that match is that you don't have to shoot tac ops to have fun, and you don't have to shoot tac ops to do well on the prize table either. Like this year at the match, every division, regardless of how many people are signed up in it, that we recognize, which is heavy optics, open, limited, tac ops, and then we have a ladies division, ladies tac ops. Every division's gonna have $1,000 check for whoever wins the division, $500 check for whoever gets second in the division, in addition to getting to walk a pretty stellar prize table.
Wow.
So,
dang, man, that's pretty sweet.
so
Well,
I kind of put my money where my mouth is when I say shoot the division you want to shoot, not the division you feel you need to shoot.
yeah, I'll say, geez, that's you know, definitely evidence of it right there.
Yep.
Well, Kurt, if you could leave the audience with just one thought or one piece of advice, what would it be?
I've been pretty good this whole time. My one piece of advice is don't shoot guns that poop where they eat.
Okay. Can you explain that?
So I'm a big piston, shooting for Adams Arms. I was an Adams Arms customer for a lot of years before I shot for him, and I shoot at pretty much all piston guns when it comes to ARs. I don't like to direct impinged ARs.
I totally missed that. I would.
So it's just the mechanics of the gun, my man. You know, with a piston gun, all that crap gets blown out the front of the gun. With a direct impinge gun, you're pushing it back into the moving parts on purpose, and I don't really understand that.
All right, then. Well, hopefully that'll create some controversy and maybe a little conversation when the show comes out.
Right,
Kurt, this has been a lot of fun, man. I'm glad we connected, and I really appreciate our talk here. And thanks for being on the Three Gun Show.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Kurt Gruber. I really like how Kurt had to get smart about his practice when he went from being a swinging single guy to a family man. I think that's pretty cool and probably helped him focus a lot too. Now, like I said earlier, we're doing a giveaway of an MGM target for the month of March. MGM has offered to give away one of their 10-inch Sportsman's targets to one lucky listener of the Three Gun Show. For details